CDC, roughly 1 million arrests are made in the U.S. every year for drivers who are under the influence of either alcohol or drugs. But just how many of those arrests lead to an actual DUI charge and conviction? That's the same question I asked when earlier this summer, a Hancock County Sheriff's deputy was charged with a DUI, only for it to be downgraded to a significantly smaller charge. Plus, have any other drunk drivers experienced the exact same fate?
If we do amend a charge, there's always a reason behind it.
Adams County State's Attorney Gary Farha says prosecutors and judges exercise a certain amount of discretion when it comes to holding someone accountable.
There's deals, charges are amended every day in courts.
Or letting them slip between the cracks.
How's the county is able to even insure her being in a cop car?
That discretion was questioned just over 2 weeks ago inside the Hancock County Courthouse. Hancock County Sheriff's Deputy Willow Queevy was charged with driving under the influence of alcohol and was supposed to be arraigned. But after a lengthy conversation between her lawyer and the Illinois appellate prosecutor, the charge was amended to permitting an unauthorized person to drive.
She should be upheld to a standard above the rest, I believe anyway.
And some residents are frustrated. According to an Illinois State Police report, the incident happened in the early morning hours of May 12th. The report states that former La Harpe, Illinois Police Chief Franklin Hoyt pulled over on a country road to take a break. He got out and went to the tailgate of his truck, thinking it was in park. But he accidentally shifted into reverse, hitting himself, and ended up with a laceration to his head, requiring medical attention. The off-duty deputy Willow Queevy was in the passenger seat. According to ISP's report, she put the truck in park, tended to Hoyt, then drove him to Memorial Hospital in Carthage. The report says they'd both been drinking, and Queevy's last drink was shortly before the incident. A chemical breath test at 6:30 that morning read .107. Do you think she made the right call?
Part of me says, yeah, she probably did. Not knowing how bad the head injury was, I think it turned out that it wasn't that bad.
Hancock County Sheriff Travis Duffy declined to go on camera, but agreed to an audio interview. He says Queevy was placed on paid leave for 2 weeks and unpaid leave for another week before rejoining the rotation around July 1st.
I believe that she's going to be a better person and a better deputy.
As far as Duffy's comment on charges, quote, being amended every day in court, he wasn't far off. After evaluating each DUI disposition in Hancock County since January of 2013, I found there have been exactly 501 DUI for alcohol cases, and 124 of those, a hair under 25%, were downgraded. That means almost 1 in every 4 cases. Queevy's petty offense, permitting an unauthorized person to drive, was the only amended charge of its kind in that time span. The rest were reckless driving, and only 1 was improper lane usage. The average fine and fee totals were over $1,000. Queevy's was $480. Farha compared that petty offense to a parent letting their underage child drive their vehicle.
If the police officer pulled that child over for another moving violation or something, they most likely would give the parent a ticket for permitting an unauthorized person to drive.
And Farha doesn't believe that charge fits into the case at hand. I was denied comment by the appellate prosecutor after the hearing, and an email inquiry was also left unanswered. An email to Queevy, also unanswered. 800 DUIs total involving alcohol or drugs have happened in Hancock County in the last 11 years.
And according to the ISP report, the former La Harpe police chief denied any and all breathalyzer tests. He was also charged with a DUI. Farha believes amended charges for DUI in Adams County happen roughly 5% of the time. Well, big